Hey YouTubers, welcome back to the hauler. It's Mike again with Hills and Haulers Homestead, and it's cloudy today, but the sun's pretty daggone bright when it is peeking out there, so it's giving me a lot of glare, and I'm kind of squinting a whole bunch while I'm out here. So I just finished feeding the critters and everything for the day. Pee-wee is recuperating. He's doing a little better at left rear leg. He was unable to bear some weight on for a while, and now he's starting to bear a little weight on it. No worse for the wear. He's doing good. I just brought him out a bunch of treats, so he got a bunch of fruit and tomatoes and bread and stuff like that. So I just brought that out for him to kind of make him feel a little better. They've got Boris just wore out. The two girls do. Pep has been extremely aggressive with both pigs, the boar, Coke, and me. She bit me night before last. She bit me on the finger, and as I was walking out, she kind of came in the pig pen there because I got in there with scratching on Boris, and she kind of come around there pretty grumpy, growling and barking at me, and I, shoot her away, and she come up behind me and put her nose up and hit my hand, and I reached back, patted her on the nose. I said, all right, Grumpy, I'm leaving your pen. And she bit me. I mean, she bit me hard on the finger. So she got swatted on the nose for that. And then last night I came out to feed them, and she got a little aggressive with me, and she trying to bite me, and I said, hey, that's enough. And I kind of pushed her, leaned down there, and I pushed her away. I was like, you better behave yourself. And she swung that big old head of hers around with her mouth open, hit my knee. And with them teeth, she took a big old flap of skin off my knee, so she got whacked for that one. So she's being pretty daggone grumpy. But with hormones, territorial, the pig, everything or the boar in there and everything. So lesson learned is that in the future there will be one girl in with the boar during breeding time, and then once the first one's bred out, then the second one, she'll go out and the second will come in. I'll not do that again. So like I said, that's a lesson learned. The guineas, got them out, and they've been on the grass for a little over a week now. They're in a chicken tractor out here in my front yard. We bought 12. We ended up with 11. One of them ended up dying. So we pretty much brooded them in our basement. I have a big pen box down there with a lid on it and stuff like that. Brooded them in it for the first month, and I brought them out, put them on the grass, and that's where they've been for, well, this is the second week. And when I went to move it the other day, two of them got out because I had to pick up on it to move it. And two of them got out and immediately ran over the hill into the woods. And I thought, they'll never come back. They'll not survive. They'll never come back here again. So I've lost two. And a little bit later, after I got the pen moved and everything like that, a little bit later, I heard them out there peeping, and I looked, and they were right there behind where I just moved the tractor from. They were pecking at the feed that was left on the ground. And I thought, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do one of them old box tricks. You stick a stick underneath the lid of a box, put a string to it, and pull it, and it falls on them. And I thought it'd be something cool to show the kids anyways. So I did, and they would not go under that thing one little bit, but they kept coming to the side of the chicken tractor and kind of laying there in the sun and peeping with the others. So I thought, if I move that thing up here to the side, put some feet under it, I bet I can get them. Well, lo and behold, and I strung string, probably about 150 feet of string from where they're at in the yard up to my deck. And sure enough, I caught them both. They got underneath that thing. They come out when it was raining and was under there pecking some food and got under there to get out of the rain. And I yanked on that string and pulled that stick out, and we got them both. So thankfully we're back to 11, and they're growing really good. But slow progress on the chick shawl for the other chickens. And I really need to get that thing going because I got 75 Cornish cross coming. I think they're supposed to be shipped the week of April 9th. So I have to have at least one side of the coop open and ready for them. And I'd like to get at least one breed out on the grass before then. And then I can work on building the other chickshaw and get them out there. So it's just been it's really honestly, it's been a lack of motivation is what it has been. That and the weather, because I don't have enough floor space right now in the basement to work on it down there. And I don't want to be cutting and sawing a bunch down there and creating a bunch of sawdust. So I prefer to work outside. But tomorrow, the rest of the week, we're supposed to have a little bit of rain here and there, but I think I can get it done. All right, USDA. So we've pretty much met all the criteria for the greenhouse, well development, and spring redevelopment. And they've got all the plans in. We sat down, we've done all that stuff. Now we're just kind of waiting on May to come around to see if we get obligated. And what we mean by that is that the USDA says, okay, we'll pick you guys this first round. Here's, we're going to obligate this amount of money to your projects. So, and I think with all three projects, they always over budget. And he had told me, the guy from the USDA had told me, he said, you know, people tend to make a little bit of pocket money off of this because we always over budget. So any money that's left over, you do with what you want to do because you've been allotted that money. So I think everything come to right around 29.5 plus or minus, and with all three projects. And I come home, I told my wife, I said, hey, I said, you know, this is what everything's going to come to. I said, now we just got to wait and see if we get funded. And she asked me, she goes, so do we have to pay taxes on that money? And I'm like, I never asked him that. Let me find out. So I called. Lo and behold, yes, you have to claim that on your federal taxes. You have to claim it under farm income or other income. And yes, you do end up paying taxes on it. So when he said, and that's why, as we were talking, he said, well, remember that money I told you it's always left over? He said, a lot of people just use that to pay the taxes. And I said, so that's all good, we can do that? He said, yes. So we figured, and they just spread it out over 3 years. You got 3 years to do each project, or well, a year to do each project. So, and they've got it billed out for 3 years. He said, you could do it all in a month if you can get it done in a month. He said, but he said, that's why we give you that buffer of 3 years. And that way, you know, you have time to get things done, and you know, you don't run short on things. So what we're going to do this year is the greenhouse, and we're going to do the spring development out here, and we'll get those two done this year, and then hopefully next year get the well development done. So yeah, that gives us a little bit of wiggle room there, and the monies that would be left over, of course, will go towards those federal taxes, because I don't want to pay freaking federal taxes on almost $30,000 out of my own pocket if I don't have to. So, you know, I'd asked previously, just a rhetorical question is, how many times can the federal government tax $1? Well, that'll tell you, because all of this money comes from our taxes, and they're allotting it back to us. It's just like, say, okay, so we took this from you, here's this back. By the way, we're going to tax you on that again. So, yeah, it's perpetual. And with everything falling apart in the world like it is, you know what, I'll take it. I'll deal with it. I'll run with it. And, you know, I really want to get that greenhouse going. That's my big thing. And like I said, these are the big three things right here. I mean, I could get by without the spring development. I could do that myself if I really wanted to do it, but I don't want to do it. Let somebody else do it and deal with it. But, you know, having the water, that gets us off of the municipal water, because, you know, you meet the requirements up front. Once you met their requirements, you can do with it what you want. So I can run it to my house and make it my primary water source in my own residence if I want to. And where we're at 1,200 foot elevation, the geologist says you should hit water within 125 feet. And, you know, according to the drillers and everything that we've talked to and stuff, he said, you know, it's your elevation. There's nothing above you to contaminate it. You should be really good and not have any issues with the water whatsoever. So, and of course, they'll test the water and everything. You have to send it, I think, to Penn State's where it goes. All right, so I got Facebook page, Weston Livestock Market, just posted a picture earlier today. What a freaking turnout. And I think it's one of the largest crowds that they've ever had, and they couldn't even accommodate everybody. There were people standing in line. There were lines clear down the road of people trying to bring animals in, selling eggs, you know, incubating eggs, and selling chickens and selling guineas and selling turkeys. And I mean, this place was absolutely packed to the rafters. And people still couldn't get in. People were leaving because they couldn't get in. People were parked in the middle of the road with animals and stuff that they couldn't get into the sale with. And a lot of people were commenting saying, "You've never seen it like that in all my years coming." And that place has been in business for a long time. So that's a good plus. To me, I look at that and I think, you know what? People are waking up. And people are seeing that the world is crap. And those who aren't doing anything for themselves are now starting to do things for themselves. And those who are doing things for themselves are trying to do more for themselves. And that is a blessing. And I would love to see everybody do that. I would absolutely love to see everybody do that and take that initiative if you're capable of doing it where you're at. Farm where you're at, homestead where you're at, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. I want you to grow something. I want you to raise something if you can. If you can raise, if you're in a neighborhood and you're allowed to have rabbits, get a rabbit hutch. They're pets. They're pets, but you can eat them. Rabbits are a good source of protein. If you're allowed to have chickens, get some chickens. You don't have to have a rooster. A rooster only gives you fertilized eggs and makes noise. Hens will give you eggs without a rooster. So get some chickens if you can get some chickens. You know, you don't have to go big. You can go with chickens and rabbits and survive if you have to. You can survive on chickens and rabbits. So, you know, the whole prospect of beans, rice, and chicken and rabbits, hey, you know, whatever it takes at that point. I even had a friend reach out to me and said, hey, I want to know if you got a little extra space up there so I can go ahead and bring some provisions up there, some beans and bullets, so to speak, just to have them there. So if things do hit the fan, and they're our friends who are a select few of our friends who will be coming here if something like that happens, which we hope and pray that it never does. But I said, yes, I said, bring your beans and your bullets and I'll find some space for you to put your provisions while you're here. That way you don't have so much stuff to throw in the back of the truck when, the balloon goes up, so to speak. So, it's just one of those things. There's just too much going on in the world right now. There's, it's a proxy war. It's World War III, whether you want to say it is or not, whether you want to believe that or not. And the BRICS nations are growing. Again, BRICS, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. United Arab Emirates is now applying for membership. Mexico is applying for membership. Iran is applying for membership. And all this means that these people are joining a collective of nations that's going to have their own currency that's going to be backed by gold. It's going to be based on a gold standard and valued on a gold standard. And what that's going to do to the United States, where we're number one on the World Economy Forum right now, or World Economic Forum, I'm not going to say that, but on the world economy, is basically everything is based on the U.S. dollar. This is probably going to take that away from us because we're number one, Europe is number two, and then it's the BRICS nations is number three. And they're moving up pretty quickly. So you got nations like Mexico, who is a neighbor, and they are absolutely devaluing or de-dollaring their economy, meaning they're even though they use pesos, they are getting away from the U.S. dollar and going towards joining the BRICS nations because we don't back our money is not backed by anything. When Nixon took us off the gold standard, it just became a promise. It's a promissory note. It's what it is. Here's $1. It's worth $1. Well, what says it's worth $1? Well, it says right there on that paper it's worth $1. Well, what do you got to back it up? Nothing. If you say, hey, I got a gold dollar, hey, gold, heck. But that's what we're running into. And as that happens, and I mean, there's so many nations. There's just more than Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. There's a ton of nations out there that are applying for membership into BRICS nations. And, it is because they're going to become they're probably going to become the world economy. And I'm going to tell you that within 10 years, they are probably going to be the world economy. And I worry about that because the U.S., the Great Depression has nothing on what we would see if that would happen. And not that we have to be the leader, not that we have to be number one all the time, but the people that we've put into these offices have done this to us over decades. They have done this to us over decades. They have put us in a position. They have abused their power. They have abused their power on the global stage, their influence on the global stage. They have put regimes in business. They've taken regimes out of business. They've done everything that they could possibly do to screw up things across the globe to where when people see that the U.S. isn't going to back them or going to hold true to their word, then they're just going to run and leave. And I can't say that I blame them. And I'm not rooting for anybody against us. I'm just saying, you have to do what they got to do. So we've got probably a rough 10 years ahead of us. And I mean, that doesn't sound like, well, I got 10 years to get ready. No, you don't have 10 years to get ready because I'm just throwing that number out there. And I am by no means a geopolitical expert, but you can listen, you can watch, you can get the information out there. And, I'm not worried about boots on the ground in America. I'm really not. That doesn't concern me as much because, hell, if you take 4 Appalachian states, 4 Appalachian states are going to form the world's largest standing army. And that's just us here. That doesn't count, everybody else. So, I'm not worried about boots on the ground in America as much as I would worry about a more technological approach and a more sabotage type approach. As open as the southern borders are, we know that there are foreign agents already in the U.S., already plotting, planning, and attempting things. There's been municipal water systems that's been poisoned already in the U.S., and this has happened over the last couple years. So you can't tell me that there's not Russian and other countries, other hostile nation sleeper cells in America. You can't tell me there's not foreign agents from all these other countries coming across our southern border unchecked and linking up And you can't tell me that there's not already plans in place and probably actions already being taken to start attacking and crippling our infrastructure, our municipal water, our sewer, our electric grid, our natural gas, our fuel, or petroleum. You can't tell me it's not there. You cannot tell me it's not there. And of course, you look at the train wrecks here recently, and everybody kind of leaned towards that as being something. But it's poor standards. And when you have poor leadership, or people in leadership positions that are poor, obviously, that we've had for quite a while, then things are going to start to fall apart. The world sees the U.S. as weak. They see us as weak. They see us as non-reliable and not dependable. And pretty much they're tired of putting up with our crap. And when I say our crap, I say that collectively as in the corrupt people who are in the office, or in the offices that are doing that kind of stuff. So you have to get prepared. You have to grow something. Again, grow a garden, put 5-gallon buckets out on your deck, drill a couple holes in the bottom of them so the water can get through, plant some tomatoes, plant some peppers, plant whatever. Is that going to keep you alive? It may. You never know. I mean, it may be something that's going to help just push you over that little bit farther that you need. But you need to start doing something more for yourself, more for your family. And I am standing here and I'm digging my heels in right now. This is it. This is my soil. This is where I make my stand. This is where I defend what's mine. This is where I defend who I love and who I care about and who I value in my life. And this is where I make my stand. And I am not going to any foreign shores. I'm too old at this point, so I'm not going to any foreign shores. So if you want to bring the fight, you bring it here. You come to my soil on my terms. There are no rules of engagement here, I promise you. And that's just how it is. And I think I can speak pretty much for just about anybody who lives this lifestyle. And I can guarantee it, I speak for about 99% of people who live in West Virginia and Appalachia for that matter. So, you know, again, I'm not worried about boots on the ground here, but if it comes to that, shame on you. Boys and girls, pick the most scenic spot you want to die on, because that's where you're going to spend your eternity. That's just how it goes. Guys, again, I cannot emphasize enough. Get some food stores put away. Get some dried goods put away. Get enough food and water. Have the ability to sterilize, filter, and sanitize water if you need to. Have water stored on site at your home. Make sure you've got alternate forms of light, alternate forms of communication, alternate forms of heat. Just have that stuff aside. And if it doesn't have to come down to a global happening, you have it for natural disasters and everything else that could come along in the meantime. God knows there's another pandemic out there just waiting to happen. So get prepared and stay prepared. It's not difficult. You don't have to do it tomorrow. It does not have to start today, and it doesn't have to end tomorrow. You got time to do it, but you need to do it now. You should have done it 2 years ago, but you need to do it now if you haven't. And that's it. Stay free. Take care. God bless.